Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz, the Rabbi of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, and I'm speaking to you from the pulpit of my congregation. My message at this time is a Thanksgiving message. Thanksgiving, American and Jewish. About this time of year, we often hear that the Thanksgiving holiday is based on the Jewish festival of Sukkot, the Feast of Booths or Tabernacles. True, the basic idea of giving thanks for God's bounty, and especially at the time of the autumn harvest, is consistent with Judaism. The Bible says we are to be especially happy on Sukkot, the time of the full harvest, and to recognize that our plenty is God's gift, not the unaided work of our hands. But the specific claim that Thanksgiving, the American holiday in November, is on the model of the Sukkot festival is, alas, not true, despite the popularity of the claim. The holiday of Thanksgiving has its roots in Protestant Christianity. It is part of a matched pair of special and occasional days of religious intensity that Christians would proclaim from time to time. Days of, quote, humiliation and fasting on the one hand, and, quote, thanksgiving on the other. This is the encyclopedia definition of days of humiliation and thanksgiving. Quote, in Protestant Christianity, a day of humiliation or fasting was a publicly proclaimed day of fasting and prayer in response to an event thought to signal God's judgment. A day of thanksgiving was a day set aside for public worship in thanksgiving for events believed to signal God's mercy and favor. Such a day might be proclaimed by the civil authority or the church. Days of humiliation and fasting on the one hand and on Thanksgiving on the other hand were popular in Puritan-dominated colonial-era New England. Consider, for example, the following regulations for Yale College, 1701. Quote, every student of the college shall diligently attend upon the duties of religious worship, both private and public, of the Sabbath day, and shall attend upon the said public worship of God in the meeting house with the president and tutors, meaning of the college, on the Lord's Day, meaning Sunday, and on, quote, days of public fasting and thanksgiving, here's our word again, appointed by authority. The November Thanksgiving in America, therefore, is a child of Puritanism, not of Judaism. But the story does not end there. The Puritans saw themselves as a new people Israel. They believed that they were cut in the same mold, that like the children of Israel, they were escaping a land of oppression, traversing a wilderness, in this case, the trackless Atlantic Ocean rather than the Sinai Desert, and arriving at a promised land, in this case, America rather than Canaan. They believed that like the children of Israel, they, the Puritans, would be vouchsafed God's special providence, guaranteeing them success if they kept to God's covenant, but punished severely if they broke faith. As John Winthrop, leader of the company that established the Massachusetts Bay Colony, preached to his fellow passengers on the eve of their departure for the New World in 1630, Winthrop was drawing on the cadences of the book of Deuteronomy, as you shall now hear. His words, we shall find that the God of Israel is among us, when 10 of us shall be able to resist 1,000 of our enemies, when he shall make of us a praise and glory, that men shall say of succeeding plantations, the Lord make it like that of New England, so that if we shall deal falsely with our God in this work we have undertaken, and so cause him to withdraw his present help from us, we shall be made a story and a byword through the world. And so, to shut up this exhortation of Moses, that faithful servant of the Lord, in his last farewell to Israel, quote, "Beloved, there is now set before us life and good, death and evil, in that we are commanded this day to love the Lord our God and to love one another, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments and his ordinance and his laws and the articles of our covenant with him, that we live and be multiplied, and that the Lord our God may bless the land whither we go to possess it. Therefore, let us choose life, that we and our seed may live." All this, Winthrop's sermon, 1630. Putting it together. 1. The Puritans saw themselves as a latter-day incarnation of the people Israel. Their piety was much influenced by the Hebrew Testament. 2. They believed that God ruled over their affairs with a special providential solicitude, rewarding them for their piety and punishing them for their failures. 3. They saw natural disasters and political setbacks as a sign of divine disfavor, and natural bounty or political success as a sign of divine favor. And therefore, 4, they declared days of fasting and humiliation to turn aside God's wrath in times of loss, and days of thanksgiving to keep God's favor in times of bounty. We may conclude by saying that if Judaism was not the parent of the Thanksgiving holiday, it is certainly one of its earlier ancestors. Happy Thanksgiving.